Jesus and Hollywood will never collide. When I realized this about Hollywood,
Got shouted out the most? Let's look at the numbers. All right, cast and crew are leading the way with 11 mentions. Moms are holding strong with 3 shout-outs. God, creator of the universe, 0 mentions. And
at its core, Hollywood basically thrives on self-gratification, instant gratification. A lot of the sinful ways that being a follower of Christ you cannot actually commend or cannot actually follow. See, now the gospel, on the other hand, it stands on truth, accountability, denial, delayed gratification. See, these two worldviews, they're completely opposite and they're completely opposed. In Matthew 6:24, Jesus says, "No one can serve 2 masters. Either you will hate one or love the other, or you will be devoted to one, despise the other." The master of Hollywood is money, fame, power, and accepting God means that you are relating all of that to a higher authority that is not these worldly things. And that challenges their actual views on a day-to-day. See, the complete mockery of faith is one of the main reasons as to why that whole wildfire actually begun. God has actually shown his wrath to many other countries and societies where they've mocked him flat out. You take in, for example, the mockery of Jesus in Brazil, one of the largest festivals where they mocked Jesus and they dragged him on the ground bleeding, and the following day flood completely devastated the whole area. In Hollywood, Jesus is reduced to a punchline. Biblical truths are dismissed or twisted entirely. Why? Because God holds a mirror to our heart directly and shows us our direct sin. And sin is what Hollywood not only normalizes, but it actually celebrates. Romans 1:25 actually talks about the current things that are going on within that part of the world, and in many societies alike, where this sort of propagation of this sinful behavior is actually monetized and it's given to many generations. They exchanged the truth about God for a lie and worshipped and served created things rather than God. In Hollywood, they glorify human desires over divine truth. See, to embrace God's fullness, that would mean addressing sin, and for too many, that's an uncomfortable truth to bear. The rejection of God within Hollywood is one of those things actually shapes the culture that we live in and what we consume on a day-to-day. What we consume, it affects how we think, how we communicate, what values we have as a society. See, now for years, Hollywood has been subtly and sneakily inputting these sorts of narratives of deception into our mainstream media and what we eat, what we watch on TV, the sorts of things that we follow, the celebrities that we try to characterize our own selves as. And they push narratives that are completely opposing gospel and divine truths. From normalizing sin to outright blasphemy, the messages Hollywood sends seeps directly into our daily lives. They try to plant seeds of doubt with mass comparisons, the self-reliance instead of being God-reliant, chasing material possessions instead of allowing God to prepare you for that. Through social media, it actually builds and breeds a culture of incompetence and people that actually don't want to think for themselves. But the amazing truth actually is Hollywood's rejection of God does not diminish God's truth on our world and on our lives. In Psalm 33:11, it reminds us that the plans of the Lord will stand firm forever, the purposes of his heart through all our generations. No amount of mockery, rebellion can actually change who God actually is. See, we're called to be in this world but not of it, like John 17:16 actually says. That means that we can't conform to the culture that Hollywood promotes. Instead, we have to stand in our faith and live as a light in the darkness. So what can we do in an industry that flat out rejects God? I'd say that the first thing is to pray, and pray for the people that are immediately surrounding us that may be consuming this type of content and embodying that type of culture that breeds generational incompetence, like I just said. And even pray for the people within Hollywood, the people who mock God. Ultimately, God can change their hearts and can open their hearts to things that you may not be able to see or understand. Second, be discerning in your day-to-day. Understand the type of content that you are consuming and the messages and the phrases that you are allowing into your heart and into your mind and into your subconscious. And finally, share the gospel. In a world that rejects God, it's up to us to boldly proclaim his truth with love and with grace. See, Romans 1:16 says, "I am not ashamed of the gospel, because it is the power of God that brings salvation to everyone and his people." Hollywood may never accept God, but at least we know the truth. And the truth is that God's love and justice remain constant. No matter how much the world will resist, this, let's be bold for shining his light onto the people that we care and the people that most definitely need to hear this message. And we can do this by sharing his hope within a world that desperately holds it. Thank you guys for watching this. Let me know what you guys think of the current situation within Los Angeles or within parts of the world that are relatively similar in culture and beliefs, as this does not just pertain to Hollywood. It is one of the breeding grounds of this sort of mainstream culture that we all consume. The recent events within Los Angeles, bringing this to light, is something that we must make a point out of and understand that this is not the first time that this has gone on. It's gone on for many years, like within the Bible. So we have to be understanding of the types of events that do happen and why they happen, because everything, like you may have heard, happens for a reason. That's God's will ultimately. Thank you for watching. Like, share, subscribe, share with somebody that you may want to see this or may find relatable in any sort of way. Thank you. And always live faith and love action. An industry that